So I started to talk about my desire to be a rock star. That was all I ever wanted to do was do music. No one bought into my dream. And I was telling him my story and he interrupts me. He goes, bro, you don't do what people tell you to do you? He said, "You're a rebel." It was like a language I'd never used to describe myself. That has been the journey of my life. There is a predetermined path everyone says I got to go down. Couldn't there be another way? Maybe there's a way that's a better fit for me, my personality, my season of life. I realized, wait a second, I need to write a book, how I've intuitively like
Yeah.
navigated through life when people say, this is the way, this is the way. I'm like, I don't think so. The book was really like a born out of I think this message is for somebody. 24 hours later, the framework came to me. I pitched the book 5 days later to my publisher, and they immediately signed it. They're like, when can you have the manuscript in?
Hey, friend, welcome to the Badass is the New Black podcast, where our motto is done is better than perfect. I'm Chrissy Chin, here on a mission to help you grow your business online, turn your leads into lifelong customers, and scale to six figures and beyond so you can work less and enjoy and earn a whole lot more. Most importantly, I'm a laid-back wife, a mom, a friend who started as a peds nurse, turned network marketer, and now a serial entrepreneur. This podcast is for ambitious people with an idea, a vision, but no idea how to get there. On this podcast, I'll give actionable steps to keep you moving forward while you learn new business strategies, better systems and processes, marketing, sales, all the things you need to build and scale a blissful business that keeps your pocketbooks growing. Grab a beverage, open up your notes app, and let's get to it. Today we have Graham Cochrane on the show. He's a seven-figure entrepreneur, a TEDx and keynote speaker, best-selling author and host of The Graham Cochrane Show, a top 0.5% ranked podcast globally, where each week he helps people create more money, margin, and meaning in their lives. With over 14 years of online coaching and content experience, 700,000 YouTube subscribers across his channels, and having built multiple seven-figure businesses that require less than 5 hours of work per week to run. That's super impressive, Graham. Graham is a leading voice and coach in the life-giving business movement. His insights have been regularly featured in national media outlets like Forbes, CNBC, and Business Insider. I mean, that's quite impressive, Graham. You got a rap sheet there.
Thank you. That's the formal bio for sure. I'm also a Star Wars nerd and a dad, girl dad, and I have a girl bunny. It's surrounded by feminine energy in my house. So that's more of what my day to day looks like.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I feel so honored to have you on the podcast. Again, you were on my very first season of Badass is the New Black 6 years ago. And so it's such an
Wow.
honor to have you back. I know that's a long time, right? And I was
Yeah.
thinking back to like when we met at the Kajabi conference, the first one that they had.
Yep.
Funny story how we met. We were at the conference and everyone kind of collected their lanyards and their hero pins. And so everyone was putting their pins on. And Claire and I had at that point in time reached our $1 million pin. And so, of course, everyone is super impressed with everyone else and finding everyone that had those other $1 million pins, finding out, what's your business? What did you do? How did you get there? And so I was kind of with this little group of people and we were at the evening party. And we see you, we're all just kind of standing there, a few of us, and we see you across the room. We're like, and we're like, get eyes on Graham. And we were like, I don't remember who said it. I'll take credit for it. I think, we were like, okay, what's his business? What does he teach on Kajabi? And Ryan instantly was like, hairstylist. He teaches people how to do hair. And so we were like, okay, we have to go find out if this is in fact true. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Graham still has great hair. Well, we
Oh,
found out that you started recording Revolution. So not hair, but music, which also tracks. That also makes a lot of sense being in music, rocking on the guitar and all of that, just having great hair. So that was how we met. We just kind of approached you and we're like,
yeah.
how'd you get your pin, right?
It was a very awkward how you guys approached me because it was like a gang of people coming up and just cornering me, and I was having a drink by myself as an introvert totally does on these events. But I'm so glad you guys did because we all became really good friends. And Ryan's been a great friend for a long time, and Rob Booker, and just it was a fun group of people to meet, and we've been able to stay connected over the years. I can't believe that's been that long ago, but that was an awesome event. And we were some of the few $1 million Kajabians back then. There's now many, many more, which is really cool. It's really exciting because more and more people are just changing their lives with doing what you teach, which is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And it does like 6 years, that feels like a long time. And then also when I think back to, everything that you've accomplished in that time frame. I mean, you didn't have your first book, your second, I think you were just starting your second business and now that's a seven-figure business. You launched your first book, which was a huge success, and now you've done this TEDx speaking and all of these things. You've spoken on stage at Kajabi and now you have your second book coming out. So it's like, think about all of that you've accomplished in 6 years, which is really not that much time. I mean, it's impressive. You've been at it. And I just appreciate everything that you've put out there, all of the guidance that I have received from you, all of your support. You endorsed my book when that came out,
Mhm.
and that meant so much to me. And now, we're here to talk about Rebel, your new book, which I'll put the plug in here now. You can pre-order the book. I've already pre-ordered mine. I can't wait for it to come. The link is in the show notes and below this video. So grab your copy, get all those bonuses. But the book is called Rebel: Find Yourself by Not Following the Crowd. So let's talk more about this book and how it came to be. What inspired you to write this?
Yeah, well, thank you for pre-ordering the book. I'm excited. I love your book as well, and I'm so glad that you wrote one. And I love the title. Yeah, Rebel is like the book I wasn't expecting to write in this season of my life. Like, I when I wrote my first book, I was like, it was fulfilling like a personal dream of I want to be an author. That would be really cool. And I just figured I'd try to write a book. It was just like a bucket list thing to do. But I wanted to get a traditional publishing deal because I feel like everything I do is self-published on YouTube and podcasting. And so that was sort of like a dream of mine to work with a publisher. And so when I worked with them and I got a book deal, the book they really felt like that was the strongest. My agent thought the strongest book would be the logical, like start your online business, and that's where how to get paid for what you know came
Yeah.
from. And so that's how the publisher viewed me as a business person, and that makes sense. That's what I teach. So I figured I'd do more books like that. But then I spent a day with John Gordon. He's a great author and speaker. He wrote The Energy Bus and The Carpenter. He's sold millions of copies of books. But I spent a day with him trying to learn how to speak like him. I was like, bro, tell me the business of speaking. Like, I imagine 10 years from now, I want to be doing what you're doing, like big keynote stages, personal development, motivational speaking. That's a dream of mine down the road. So I thought I was going to be getting speaking coaching, and the only thing he was interested in talking to me about was he's like, what's the message of your next book? And I was like, this is like 9 months after the first book came out. I'm like, bro, I'm exhausted from the first book. Like, can I just
Yes.
happy clap myself? I put a book out in the world. And he was like, well, what's the message of the next book? And so we noodled for like 2 hours on things I could write about, that I wanted to write about, and nothing really was firing me up. And he finally said, all right, well, tell me your life story. What's your life story? So I started to talk about my desire to be a rock star. That was all I ever wanted to do, was do music. And my guidance counselor was like, no, you got to go to college. My parents like, you got to go to college. I'm like, I don't need college degree to be a rock star. You just go be one. It's not that hard. And so no one like bought into my dream. And I was pushing back against that. And then when I lost my job in the Great Recession and everyone's like, are you applying for jobs? I'm like, no, I think I'm going to start a blog about music recording. They're like, what are you doing? And I was telling him my story, and he interrupts me. He goes, bro, you don't do what people tell you to do you? He said, you're a rebel. And it was like a language I'd never used to describe myself. Not a word I usually would have associated myself with. I don't know what comes up for you when you hear the word rebel, but usually people think negative things. But at the same time, the moment he said that word, I was like, bro, in one word, you helped me better understand myself. That has been the journey of my life, which is there is a predetermined path everyone says I got to go down. For me as a middle class American in high school, it was go to college, get good grades to go to college, get a good job so you'll have security and safety. Well, that didn't work out. I lost 2 jobs during the Great Recession, was on food stamps for 18 months, had a wife and a baby and a mortgage, and that didn't work out. It's also not what I wanted to do. Um, and and so there's all these predetermined paths, even in business, even the lane we're in, we're trying to help people build these online businesses. You're trying to help people sell while they sleep. Like, there's still predetermined paths. People say, you have to do this. You have to do this.
Mhm.
And I've realized that I've always pushed back against that because I'm like, is that the only way? Couldn't there be another way? Maybe there's a way that's a better fit for me, my personality, my season of life. Like, I've got kids. Like, there's advice out there that doesn't really work if you have a family, or it's very hard to pull off if you have a family. So I realized, wait a second, I need to write a book that helps, like, go back and reverse engineer my life a little bit. If I could figure out a way to, in a framework, teach how I've intuitively, like,
Yeah.
navigated through life when people say, "This is the way, this is the way." I'm like, "I don't think so." Not that I have it all figured out or that I'm that confident. I'm scared out of my mind every time I try something new, but I would be more scared of, like, sitting in a cubicle with, an oversized shirt and a tie. I've done all that, and I hated that. So, the book was really like a born out of, I think this message is for somebody because this has been my life.
Mhm.
And 24 hours later, the framework came to me. I pitched the book 5 days later to my publisher. And that was the big test because they knew me and they signed me as a business author. They
Right.
immediately signed it. They're like, when can you have the manuscript in?
Oh,
And I'm like, you guys know this is like a personal development book. Like, this isn't just business. This is your family. This is your finance. This is your health. This is like a life book. And they're like, let's do it. So that was last year. And I was like, oh gosh, I got to write this thing. And so what's been wild, Chrissy, is that, like, as I've written it and figured out what this book was going to be, and then as I started to share it with people on podcasts like this, it has been so wild to see how so many people in this day and age, let's talk about online business in particular,
yeah.
people are so looking for a different way of doing things because everyone's telling you, you got to do it this way, you got to do it this way. And I'm just here to say that, like, the only way that you're going to be successful in your business or in your life is to press into your uniqueness. And that's ultimately what this book is about.
Mhm. Ah, so powerful and so needed right now with the years of social media conditioning us and getting all these messages from now way more people than just your family that's telling you what you should do and do this and do that and you'll be good at this and I want to see you in this profession. But now, like, it's even louder and more amplified, and just the voice inside our head from all seeing other people doing these certain things. Well, maybe I have to do it, do what they're doing and do it like them. So I think that this message is going to be so powerful for anyone that's listening. Like you said, like, not just for your business, but your life and what's going on in your life and how you approach it and the direction you take and the path you go down affects your business. Right? So it's all tied together. So I'm super excited for the message of the book, to read it, to dive more. I am a huge sucker for personal development. Like, any book that I order, it's either business or personal development. When everyone else is like reading the next, like, romance,
Yep.
romance, those like dirty romance novels are like hot right now, and I'm like and I'm an audio girl, so whatever's in my ears is usually personal development, because I just think that's so powerful to continue to be working on yourself. You can just make huge transformations for yourself and everyone that you are around and touch. If you're ready to start building your email list on autopilot and the thought of increasing your sales and selling while you sleep intrigues you, then it's time to attend our masterclass, How to Automate Your Online Business and Increase Sales While You Sleep. This class is going to go over the automations that you should be focusing on. There are 3 areas, and the ones that you shouldn't, because most people waste a lot of time focusing on automations that don't move the needle, don't convert people to customers. We're also going to dive into the strategies that 7-figure business owners use, ones that you are likely missing in your business, so that you can increase those sales and do it while you're sleeping or while you're spending more time with your family, or diving more into the parts of your business that you want to be doing, the things that you dream about. You can use the link below this video or in the show notes to attend the masterclass. Tell me more. Tell me more about, like, are you sharing what's the framework inside the book at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like the premise is simple. Like, if you're frustrated or disappointed with how life is going, it's largely because you're operating out of alignment with who you actually are. That's my premise. There's a lot of things outside of our control that make life hard and challenging. We get that. But let's talk about the things we can control. Most of the time, we're frustrated because we're not being who we are. I mean, and Soren Kierkegaard has this haunting quote. He's a 19th century Danish philosopher. It says that the most common form of despair is not being who you are.
Mm.
And, like, I'm like, yes and amen to that. And so the idea is, we're looking around, especially with the proliferation of social media. There's more people to compare yourself to. And what we're subconsciously doing is saying, well, I'm kind of like her. I'm kind of like him. I'm going to kind of similar season. That seems to be working for them, which, by the way, we don't know if it's working for them. It's just what they're
Right.
sharing. But let's assume it is working for them, give
Right.
them the benefit of the doubt. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Doesn't mean their choices are going to work for you. And so the key in my worldview is to be satisfied with life. Okay, to be successful, because I think we all want to be successful.
Mhm.
to be satisfied in life, because success and satisfaction are not always the same thing. We
Right.
know people who are incredibly successful and they're unsatisfied. So
Yeah.
you want both of those. And the key to be of service to people, which I think is ultimately why we're designed and why we're on this planet, is to serve people. We want all three of those. Fulfillment is a combination of all three: success, satisfaction, service. The key to that, the white hot center of that, is embracing your uniqueness. And so people are like, okay, maybe that makes sense. I'm not sure. But the biggest question is, well, I don't know what my uniqueness is. I don't actually know who I am, because we're too busy being other people, or just we got kids and we got a mortgage. Like life is busy. So what I'm trying to do in this book is give you a coaching session in a book. It's a short book. It's a fast read. There's 5 core steps in the 5-part framework. There's a core exercise for each part of the framework, so you can actually do the book. Even if you only do one of the exercises, you will better know yourself. But the key is to figure out who you are so you can show up fully as yourself. To me, that's what a rebel is someone who has the courage to show up fully, authentically as themselves, with all their talents, their personality, their joys, their opinions, all those beautiful things, even when the world pushes back. Because the moment you're different, they will push back, right? The
Mhm.
world says we celebrate diversity. No, we don't. We want everyone to be the same, have the same worldview, be the same, act the same,
Mhm.
keep your head down. We don't actually want people to be different. Even the people who love you get offended subconsciously that you're doing something different. They don't know
Yes.
why they're offended. So it just happens naturally. So it takes guts to be a rebel. It's not easy. And
Mhm.
the people that do rebel, eventually people realize that they were smart. People didn't love what Martin Luther King Jr. was doing in the 60s. People
Yeah.
didn't love what Steve Jobs was doing in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s with computers. People didn't love what Jesus was doing 2000 years ago. But then history shows, oh, they were geniuses. Oh, their movement was meaningful. They did. So it's hard. It's hard to
Mhm.
rebel against the norm. So my book is trying to help you figure out who you are, because that's the only way you're going to be fulfilled. Like Chrissy has to be Chrissy.
Yeah.
Graham has to be Graham. I don't have a formula for your life, but I can help you find your
Right.
uniqueness in your life and exploit it. So that's the premise of the book, the promise of the book. And the framework is, it spells the word rebel. And we can start with the first step. Like the R stands for resolve, to dream again. Like you have to put a stake in the ground and say, I'm actually going to get back to dreaming, and get back to, like, what are my wants and desires?
Mhm.
And this is either really easy or really hard for you, depending on your upbringing and your personality.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've kicked dreaming to the curb because we figured that's childish, that's foolish, that's, you don't get what you dream. That was me, because I dreamed of being a rock star, and then after 4 or 5 years of chasing it hard and not landing a record deal and having to, like, realize there's no money at the end of this rainbow. I got to either keep pursuing it as a broke musician or get a job to take care of my new wife. I had to create a narrative or a worldview that made sense of my reality, which was, I guess
Mhm.
people don't get what they dream for. I
Yeah.
guess you have to just put your head down and get a normal job. And I was stupid for thinking for 22 years I could do this.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to be a responsible citizen. So some people think dreaming is stupid or foolish. My premise is that dreams are giant clues. They're just data on what you care about, what you like, how you're wired. So if you don't pay attention to your dreams, big or small, they can be little dreams. They don't, like, I want to learn Spanish. Like, that's interesting. It doesn't have to be this massive dream, but it's
Right.
just data on yourself. If you're not willing to look at the data, how are you ever going to find yourself? How are you ever going to know if you're living in alignment with what matters to you, if you don't even pay attention to what you want? Because honestly, we're serving a lot of people. If you got kids or a spouse, or you have a community or a business, like, a lot of times we put our needs at the wayside to serve other people, and we lose sight of who we are. And I don't think that you'll be happy by becoming something you're not. I think you need to just remember who you were, maybe when you were a
Mhm.
kid. And we have to get back to some of that and find a way to at least get some data on ourselves. Even if those dreams don't all come true, that's not the point, but we can better understand ourselves. So the first part of the framework is to do some dreaming exercises and get clear on those things.
Yeah, super helpful, so great, and I can relate to this when I became a mother, right? It's like a huge shift in your life and in your roles and responsibilities of losing myself and needing to remember, like, I can still dream, and I can still dream big, and I can do this, and I have to go about it maybe a different way because I have different and more responsibilities, right? Or even growing a business, or having employees and all of that, like, everything can affect like you're just saying, there's lots of reasons why we do or don't dream. Fear that we'll never hit our dream, fear that we will hit our dream. And then what? Like that's actually when most people don't think about that a lot of people have. So, but really, really important. And I love, and I'll let you go keep going into the framework, but I just want to go back to the power of understanding who you are when we're working with people to get their business online and craft this website, right? And figure out what is your business about. It really starts with who you are, right? Who
Yeah.
you are, what you're about, how you want to show up and serve. And I find that it is really challenging for a lot of people. The people that it comes very quickly, like one of our steps in our program, it's either people are going to move through it quickly or they're going to be there a long time. And the people that are there a long time are the people that have not done this inner reflection and look into who they really are. The people that know who they are, they're like flying through it. They're like, yep, this is it. This is what I stand for. This is my mission. This is my vision. This is who I'm serving. This is how I want to show up. This is so I know your book is going to be so powerful in helping people, business entrepreneurs that are listening to this move through and get clarity faster on all the things they want to do just in their business, let alone everything else. So I love this. I'm a big dreamer. So it kind of comes easy to me and naturally to me. I never know how I'm going to get there, but I'm like, I dream big. So I've always had that with me, but I know it's challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm glad you're unique in that. I think not everyone shares that. A lot of people are burned by dreams, and primarily because they've had a dream die, and it's so painful. There's something I talk about in the book called the identity crisis intersection, and this is something I think we've all had at some point. And it's where you have a dream, and that could be a career dream or business dream. It could be a relationship dream. I want to get married, or I want to have a kid, or a financial dream, whatever it is. We all have had them at some point.
Yeah.
But then the dream dies for whatever reason. The business fails, the economy shifts, the spouse walks out, the child dies. Like there's a lot of pain in when the dream dies, or you never quite get the dream. That was my rock star dream. I could never quite get there. So you realize the dream is dying. Then what do you do? Like
Mhm.
at that moment, you are at what I call the identity crisis intersection. It's an intersection. You have two choices. It's a fork in the road. And I call it an identity crisis intersection because when your dream dies, part of you dies with it.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
we aren't compartmentalized little things. Like that's why it hurts so much when a dream doesn't come true or it fails, because that's part of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is what do you do at that point? It's such a tender point. And most people choose option A, which is to conform. They get right back in that sea of conformity of like, well, I'm going to be like everybody else. That was embarrassing. Not going to dream again. Shouldn't have done that. Not going to get married again. I'm not going to start another business because that blew up in my face. Whatever it is. For me, that was the rock star dream died. So I floated for 4 years at jobs I hated, trying to be a good, happy person, although I wasn't happy. It wasn't me. And that's a path we all take. I took it. There's no shame in it. It's just the obvious choice to take. But there is another choice, and that is to dream again.
Mhm.
Either that same dream a second time, or a third time, or 100th time, or it's to dream a new version of your dream or a new dream entirely. And that's kind of how I started in business 4 years later when I had to, because I lost a couple of jobs. I was like, well, I didn't get the rock star dream, but I could build a company around music and I could help other musicians. And ironically, my dream came about. I released like a new album every year. I had a built-in audience. I made money. I got to help other people with their music. I got to tour digitally and a little bit in person. And I had way more stability in my life and way more fun. It was like a back door into my music dream I never would have thought was
Mhm.
possible, but I gave up on it for 4 years. But when I let myself dream again, there was more possibilities and opportunities. And I'm dreaming again right now. I want to be an author speaker. That would be fun. And so it's a new way to dream. So I think everyone's gone through one of those identity crisis intersections, or maybe you're in one right now. And just if you are or have been, like, it's okay. If you've conformed, it's okay. You have a choice to still get out of the river. Everyone's floating one way. You can get out for a second, stand on the shore and say, do I want to go where the river's going, or do I want to pick a different path? And it's going to start with dreaming again about something new, or maybe the same thing you dreamt about when you were a kid.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Can't wait to read that chapter. I love
Yeah,
it.
I
Okay,
know
so
we're,
let's
we're short on time. I'll fly through. I'll sort of highlight
yeah.
the rest of the framework. But so you start with that 30,000 foot view of dreaming. The E in Rebel is to establish the outcomes you want in life. So we go from 30,000 foot view to like very on the ground. Like what do you want to be true? about your life on the day to day. So one of the questions I use is like just a journal prompt is, if you and I bump into each other 3 years from now, Chrissy, and we haven't seen each other, but it's like another conference and it's like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 years since the podcast we did together. I'm like, Chrissy, how the heck are you? And you're like, Graham, this has been the best 3 years of my life. What would you be telling me about? That's the
Yeah.
question. That's the like, it has been the best 3 years. What would have to be true for you to tell me it has been the best 3 years of your life? Open-ended question. Take your time. There's no category that's specifically you have to go through. And 3 years is very specific because 10 years is too far down the road to really even
Mhm.
picture like my life's going to be so different in 10 years. I don't even know who I was 10 years ago. 1 year is just too short to really create a lot of momentum because we get excited, but then we just fall off the horse. 3 years is this magical window of time that's close enough to my season of life. I can almost picture like the age of my kids. I've got a few things in the fire that'll probably be pumping out in the next 2 to 3 years. So I can kind of accurately predict the future ish.
Yeah.
But it's also like, we could do a lot of damage in 36 months. Like I can
Yeah.
completely transform my marriage in 36 months, my business in 36 months, my health. Like it's a long enough time that your life could be completely different in the best sense of the word. So I love this question to create vision, specific outcomes. This would have happened 3 years from now. It's been the best 3 years of my life. So we go from big picture dreams that are just data points on what we care about, what we value, down to this is what I really want to be true 3 years from now. And you're getting a lot closer to what you value versus what Graham values or anybody else.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. All right, let's keep moving through the
We move to the B. Yep. After that, like once we get a vision, the B is to break the negative thoughts, habits, and patterns that are holding you back. So we do a whole exercise called my inner story audit. Like there is an intuitive, still small voice in your head that wants to guide you, but you will not hear it if you have that loud default story, the loud default narrative. I'm not good enough. It'll never work. The economy's too bad, whatever, whatever. So we have to like identify, attack, and reframe and basically undo a bunch of bad programming and old
Yeah.
code. So we do that in the B. The second E, the fourth step, is to engage in rebellious new thoughts. This is where you start to have new beliefs, think new thoughts, new feelings, new actions come. We do a lot of like how to prime your day, protect your day. Something I teach called goal funnels. Like, how do you take those specific visions that you got for 3 years and like turn them into daily steps? So, very practical. Like, if the action takers are going to like that chapter. And then finally, the L is to let go. Specifically, you let go of other people's opinions and even your own opinion of yourself, aka the outcomes you set back in step two. So we set outcomes to go in a direction, but at the end of the day, we have to really hold them loosely because I have no control over the future. I really don't know what's going to happen. So I don't actually want to be married to an outcome. I want to know where I want to go, but I want to literally let go of those outcomes so I can iterate and evolve and be flexible. Because again, high school Graham didn't know that YouTube was a thing because it didn't exist. So I would
Right.
never have said, I want to be on YouTube and I want to have an online business. That wasn't a thing. So, but I had a big picture of who I was and what I wanted out of life. And then as I kept that open, I could evolve and pivot and go, oh, this could be a thing. This could work. I'm really good at this. People like this about me. I could do this better. And you have to hold it so loosely. John Gordon, who not only endorsed the book but wrote the forward for the book, has this great line. He says, "If you love the process, you'll love what the process produces." And he really tries to get you to focus on move in the direction you want to move, but let go of the end, the outcome, because we don't want to focus on that. So it's really a letting go after all the hard inner work you do. This is the hardest part of the framework for me. This is the part I'm still in process on because I'm such an outcome person. I'm a high futuristic on the strength finders, and I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. Like I want to achieve, but it's the part that's going to set you free. And in this part of the chapter, we help you establish family values, personal values, so you can like cling to the 4 to 5 things you're like, this is true about me. So when other people are like, that's weird what you're doing, you're like, that might be true that you say that, but this is
Right.
what I value. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, 100%. If you're watching on YouTube, in the comments, share which part of the framework you are most excited to dive into. If you're watching on YouTube, when you said let go, I just like took this big sigh of relief. I was like, just almost like, oh, yes, we have to remember to let go. And I love you talking about the dream state and like how it kind of shifted, but gave you a new way to reach that dream. Sometimes we have these dreams and we think it has to be a certain way, but like let go of that blueprint and exactly how you pictured it, because it could actually be happening, but it's just happening a little bit differently. And if you stop to really look and let go of that specific blueprint that you had drawn out, you might realize and recognize that, oh my gosh, what I had actually dreamed is coming true. It's just not exactly how I pictured it. Ah,
So good.
so powerful. Okay, I cannot wait. I'm gonna be stalking my mailbox. Amazon is telling me like when it's coming. So I will be looking for it and I will be reading through that. Graham, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Any final thoughts or words that you want to leave with the audience before they use the link below to go grab Rebel? Find yourself by not following the crowd.
Yeah, I would just say think about who you need to become a rebel for. Ultimately, this isn't about you just living your best life, although I think it will help you live your best life. But imagine what would be possible for your family, for your community, for your clients, for whomever, if the real you, like the full real you came out to play. Not the version of you that your parents want you to be or you feel like you need to be on social media, but if the full you came out to play, imagine who would benefit from it. So I love to just leave you with that thought. Think about who you need to become a rebel for, not only to like serve them and bless them, but maybe just maybe inspire them to become a rebel and find themselves as well.
Yeah. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on how freeing it actually is, even how scary it might feel in the beginning. But I know once you go through Graham's framework, it's going to be freeing and liberating and empowering for you to do that next thing. So we believe in you. Go get your hands on this book. Graham, it's been a pleasure to have you here. I will leave all of the links below this video or in the show notes so you can go connect with Graham as well after you grab his book, Rebel. You can find him on Instagram. He's got a YouTube channel. He has a podcast. I will leave all of the links there so that you can go check out Graham and tune in the way that you like to best. So Graham, again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming here. And I hope this isn't the last conversation and we chat more.
I'm sure we will. Thanks, Chrissy. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got some value out of this episode, I would love some support. And the best way to do that, so I can keep showering you with loads of actionable tips, is to hit that subscribe button. Leave a review or a comment if you're on YouTube, and share this podcast with a friend. And when you share it with a friend on social, please tag me so I can reshare your share in my stories. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out. I appreciate the heck out of you for showing up. And now it's time for you to take imperfect action so you can work less and enjoy and earn a whole lot more.